weekly DLT insights. My name is Andrew and I'm Hedera Hashgraph's social media manager. I am joined by my friend and colleague Sharon, who will be manning the live chat for us today. So if you have any questions or comments for our guest or myself or the content that we're discussing today, feel free to jump in that chat. And if you're watching the recording, you can always throw a question in the comments section as well. So thanks so much for being here today. We are going to start things off really quickly with getting the disclaimer out of the way, as you've probably seen in a lot of YouTube live streams before, but our objective is to share interesting news in the industry and the Hashgraph DApp ecosystem. This live stream gives us the opportunity to spread awareness on what's trending in the marketplace from the previous week. We have a unique perspective to see what's really popular and what people care about, what people are talking about. So we're going to start things off with the guest intro, move on to industry insights, DApp highlights, Hedera highlights, and then hero of the week. So a quick heads up here is we have John Kwok joining us today. And I'm super pumped to have John join us because John is a bit of a staple in the Hashgraph Telegram chat. John, you were part of the group before even I was. I remember when I joined the chat, what feels like a million years ago now, that you were answering questions and directing people where they can get access to more information. I remember thinking, John, geez, this John guy is super smart. I got to keep a close eye on him. And you always know that you're an influential person in the Hashgraph Telegram chat when someone starts impersonating you. And I remember seeing an impersonator of you, and I'm like, that's not John. That John would never say that. So I'll bring up your bio, and so that those who are watching or listening to us now can take a look at your background here. But John, please, for those who are not familiar with you, please introduce yourself, share a little bit about your background, and perhaps how you first came across Hedera Hashgraph.
Okay, so is the audio good? Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Okay, yeah, so hi. Yeah, so my name is John. I'm from Singapore. It's a sunny tropical island somewhere in Asia. Yeah, so we don't have like the 4 seasons. It's just sun and heavy rain all year round. Yeah, so for me, I'm 26 this year, and my day job is a consultant in a fintech firm that sells enterprise software to banks for trading and risk management. I have, I guess, many different interests, and yeah, I chanced upon Hashgraph in 2017 after I saw some article that a friend shared on LinkedIn. So I did follow the DLT space, but not very closely. But after reading about Hashgraph, I grew more interested. So yeah, I have been using Telegram for quite a long time, and because of that, I mean, Telegram just seemed like the cooler version as compared to like WhatsApp, where you have fewer features. So I joined the chat, and it was a very enjoyable experience. At that point in time, even before the public network was announced, I could tell that there was like a lot of excitement and hype regarding this technology because of its like novelty and the really interesting way that Dr. Lehman Day has proposed to solve the consensus algorithm that is being used in Hashgraph. So yeah, I've been following the project since then, trying to be engaged in the community, and also going for the meetups that have been happening in Singapore. I think so far like, twice. Yeah, actually, we just had a meetup like this evening. I guess maybe I can talk a bit about that later. Yeah, but that's roughly about me. That's roughly all I have at the moment. Yeah. Maybe
sure. Yeah. No.
Can continue.
No. Feel free to share about the meetup that you had this evening. You might as well share with everybody. What time is it in Singapore right now?
Yeah. So actually, it's just past midnight now. It's like 12:05 a.m. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us at such an odd time.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess like normally I wake up around 8, so even if I sleep at 1, I still can get 7 hours. So yeah, I'll be fine tomorrow.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. Yeah, tell us about the meetup you had this evening.
Yeah, so like we have a community in Singapore where I guess all around the world, this idea of decentralization and technology is something that um, everyone is like excited about. So the meetup today was the third one that we have had in Singapore so far. Like we had one really long ago in 2017 December when Mans and Edgar uh, shared about what Hashgraph was about. So that was before the launch of the public net, and at the time, I mean, people were all like speculating, oh, are they going to like launch a coin? What was going on, and so on and so forth. And shortly after, in March last year, after the public net was announced, I think Mans and did a world tour with. So at that point, Tom, Mans, and Edgar were also in Singapore to talk about Hashgraph, and yeah, those meetups were great. So today we had another meetup. Uh, after the new developments that have been done, the launch of the coin, we had a meetup today where we wanted to share about the onboarding process so that developers in the community would be able to know the different resources and uh, just get the help if they have any questions. So I think, yeah, I was sharing, I did present a bit on what the network is like. But Kelvin, who is a developer advocate, uh, took most of the part on the onboarding and the management of the different repositories and libraries that are now available, and some cool new features that Hashgraph is planning to uh, launch soon. And yeah, I think it's really good that there are always new things that are being done. Everything is moving pretty quickly, so it's very exciting. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
would you say?
So
I'm sorry.
yes, I mean, yeah, you go ahead, Andrew. You
I
had a
was just
question?
gonna I was just gonna ask if Singapore has a large developer community. Would you say that there's a very active developer community in Singapore?
I would say that in Singapore, the developer community is, I think, not super well connected. I think that there is some kind of um, spreading the word that can be done in Singapore so that more people are able to find the resources. So I think here in Singapore, there are some developers, but I think most of them, if I mean, so okay, so when I went for the hackathon last year, we met quite a number of developers, yeah, and some of them I think are also working in the DLT space. So yeah, I think there are developers, but I'm not too sure in terms of how many are currently working on Hashgraph related projects. Yeah, but I do see that there is a lot of interest. I think just even people being curious about what Hashgraph and Hedera is about, and
No,
the
that
potential
makes
use
sense.
cases. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's a lot of hype lately around use cases. Open access was only what I want to say 6 weeks ago, about a month and a half ago, September 16th. So
Yeah.
there has been a lot more developer focused interest as of late because we've now achieved open access and absolutely anybody can gain access to the mainnet now. And more specifically, developers who are interested in creating dApps that are high throughput with low latency. That's where we've seen the highest interest from developers who are specifically running across those problems, those bottlenecks. They're the ones that have been really zeroing in on Hedera Hashgraph from what we can tell. So yeah. Okay, interesting.
And also I think today during the meetup, Kelvin was sharing some interesting statistics about the transaction volume that we are seeing on Hashgraph. Yeah, so I'm quite sure you also know about it. Yeah, he was talking about how at this point in time, the number of transactions processed by Hedera with low latency and consensus, it's like coming close to, I think, like half of the amount that Ethereum has managed. And like, I think being such a young network, it is a pretty good sign of the interest and the validity of the product in from my perspective.
Yeah, we are very excited with the performance metrics. For anyone who is just discovering Hedera Hashgraph right now, we do publish our performance metrics on Hedera.com, and you'll be able to scroll down the page and see quite clearly how many transactions are being processed on the mainnet. Currently, we are reaching consensus a little higher than 2 seconds. We originally published that we would achieve consensus between 3 and 5 seconds. So we are just elated that our performance metrics have actually exceeded what we expected. And we're still throttled. We're throttled at 10,000 transactions per second. And we are looking for more dApps to build on the mainnet to actually start to actually test the limits, because we are nowhere near 10,000 transactions a second because the demand just isn't there yet. But more and more dApps are building on the mainnet every single day, and we are very interested to see what kind of metrics are going to be popping up in the very near future. So yeah, right on. So we'll move on here to the industry highlights, just to give everybody a broad idea before we dive into the links. First, we're going to start off with how investing 150K in Spencer Dinwiddie would actually work. China's cryptocurrency plan has a powerful partner, Big Brother, 5 top car manufacturers into the field for automatic blockchain payments, an examination of Facebook. You can't talk about DLT or blockchain without Facebook's Libra project these days. And then we've got some dApp highlights, hashing systems. We've got Chainlink and CoinList have a hackathon going on right now. And so we want to touch on that. And then 4 Techstars farm to fork companies announced they're moving to Minnesota. And then the Hedera highlights. And then we are going to wrap things up. So I'm sharing my screen here, and we're going to start things off with just addressing a question in the main chat. So thank you to Crypto Investor 2019. So before the live stream even started, we had a question, and I wanted to just revisit this blog that was written by Mance Harmon, our CEO. This was published over a month ago, and we are not able to engage in any sort of price speculation, but perhaps Crypto Investor 2019 will find some value in reviewing this blog. I did touch on this on a previous episode, but glad to quickly recap. And because we're starting things off here too, I forgot to mention that I'm going to include all of these links in the description below this video if you're watching the recording. So if you're with us live, I thank you for your patience. I will add those links as soon as we're done so that you can follow along if you're watching the recording right now. But Hedera Network Performance and Token Economics from Mance Harmon here. Keep in mind, this was published over a month ago, so our performance metrics are actually better. They've exceeded these numbers, but still we were extremely proud to share these metrics just a week after achieving open access. But if you scroll down, you'll see that he touches on SAF distributions, removing undistributed community earn program tokens from the circulating supply, and then finally here, reevaluating Hedera's token economics model. He goes into detail right here, explaining that we've hired the Prism Group to reevaluate every aspect of our token economic model. So I hope this blog can answer your questions. I certainly do not want to speak for the company's CEO, Mance Harmon. You're going to be able to get a lot more value from this blog, and we're posting blogs all the time on Hedera.com to help answer questions and offer more clarity. We're on a mission to be as transparent as possible, and we're constantly pushing content out to the community to help address concerns and answer questions. So I hope that was able to answer your question there. But we are going to get through the news and these links on a fairly quick, efficient basis here. Otherwise, the live stream is going to go for 2 hours. Like I said earlier, we're going to provide these links for everybody in the description so that you can take a deeper dive if you're interested. So we're going to start things off with an ESPN link here, which I have to say, first time I've ever included an ESPN link on Forkless Cafe. But hey, this is the world we live in. How investing $150,000 in Spencer Dinwiddie would actually work. So this is an interesting article because he starts off with obviously expressing how himself and other basketball players have the entrepreneurial bug, and more specifically, they were looking at creating a shoe. But when you go through the article, it explains in the article how you can go into the locker room and find a hard copy of distributed ledger technology, DLT, or blockchain technology, or cryptocurrencies. But right here he says, why not just be the investment vehicle, allowing people who believe in the athlete to cash in when he makes good on his potential. I love this. With that, Dinwiddie decided that in addition to being an NBA combo guard, he also would fulfill a new dream of being a debt security. The idea, I know, crazy, right? The idea of athletes or celebrities securitizing their talents has precedent. In 1997, musician David Bowie worked with an investment bank to sell Bowie bonds. Investors were paid a fixed annual return of 7.9% over 10 years for bonds that were backed by Bowie's intellectual property, in other words, his recordings and songs, and his rights to royalties. Chicago White Sox slugger Frank Thomas took a long look at securitizing his contract in 1998, but the plan got hung up over skittishness about clauses in his deal that would nullify the contract for scenarios like non-sports related injuries or player strikes. So very interesting article. If you go down, it does explain how you have to be an accredited investor to participate in an investment opportunity like this. Not going to dive into the details here, not the time or the place, but please click on the link and learn some more if this is something that you want to learn more about. There's an interesting conversation, bigger conversation around this. I've heard certain situations where students are now being, their education is now being paid for by an investor. And then in return, after the student graduates and goes and acquires a career, a job, they now have to pay that investor back a percentage of their income for X amount of years. Again, an opportunity to securitize someone's talents and abilities. So it's interesting the world we live in today, where we're seeing DLT technology is creating business use cases that never existed before, because maybe perhaps there was way too much, the technology didn't exist, there was too many inefficiencies, and it just wasn't possible. But here we are in late 2019, and all of a sudden these possible business opportunities are popping up all over the place. So very cool, touching on my first ESPN link here in Forkless Cafe. So we got the New York Times article here, China's cryptocurrency plan has a powerful partner, Big Brother. So this article spends a lot of time comparing China with Facebook's Libra and the pros and cons and the concerns and the problems. A lot of people are saying that the big Facebook Libra announcement is what actually spurred a lot of attention in this space. And China perhaps is now, it's expected that China is now increasing their plans because of the Facebook announcement. So it says here, a state-issued e-currency would help China's government know more, much more about how its citizens spend their money, giving it sweeping new powers to fight crime and manage the economy while also raising privacy concerns. And then we have a quote here, it's extraordinary power and visibility into the financial system, more than any central bank has today, said Martin Korzempa, a research fellow at the Peterson Institute of International Economics in Washington. John, out of curiosity, is this subject come up a lot in Singapore? Is this discussed much in Singapore?
Yeah, actually, I think you may be surprised to learn, but like Singapore, I think has some plans for creating some form of like digital currency. I remember seeing some articles. Maybe if you are able to do like a Google search on like Singapore and digital currency, perhaps there'll be some results. But I do know that like because Singapore, we are a pretty small country, so for things related relating to innovation, they do have some kind of like arms that look into this for the country. Yeah, so I think yeah, the regulatory environment here is slightly more, I would say, relaxed in a sense. Yeah, and I think because we are small, so things can be done in a like for a small scale. But if you're in a big country like the US or China, doing something on a very national level could, I think, be a bit challenging. A bit challenging. Yeah, so I also understand in China they are creating some fund, right? And then from my understanding, it seems like they are trying to employ a kind of like a ground up system where like the money is spread out to the different towns. So I think you can do sort of like A/B testing with different ideas, and you don't have to do like a one big like final idea at once. You could, try over. I don't know if you have like 1,000 cities. You can try different iterations of the the product and see which one works best. And yeah, I think something will emerge over time. But how exactly it will come out about would be, I mean, like, I'm not so sure like what the final outcome would really look like. Yeah. But at least they have a good system at least in place that they try to create, and so that they can get a lot of development and iterations so that we can see what works, what doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, and I certainly have the sense that Singapore is very forward thinking, and like you pointed out, a very small nation, which means you're much more nimble. Malta obviously is famously known for being very blockchain DLT forward. So yeah, you're in a very unique position that you can take action, whereas perhaps a larger nation would be slower just due to the complexity of their overall structure, right? So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right, moving on here, we got a CoinDesk article: 5 top car makers enter field trials for automatic blockchain payments. This is very cool. I just get really excited when we start talking about futuristic stuff. I'm constantly reading books and watching futuristic movies and whatnot. And it says down here, by assessing vehicles' unique identities that store data such as ownership and histories on a blockchain, the industry initiative aims to remove the need for a human when settling tolls and parking fees. Founded in, it's talking about the, where does it say here? MOBI, Mobility Open Blockchain Initiative. Founded in May 2018 by multiple major car manufacturers, MOBI has been working with to enable the sharing of road data between manufacturers, a step towards developing self-driving cars, which I think a lot of people are very excited about these days. As Nike writes, participating vehicles would eventually be able to automatically pay expenses once plugged into other networks such as charging or refueling stations. This article even goes on further explaining that even during a power outage, the vehicle would be compensated to reverse the flow and pay power into the network where it is perhaps more needed. Fascinating use case. And there's obviously some big players. What do we got here? So we got BMW, General Motors, Honda, Ford, and Renault are all working with MOBI. So that's just too cool. I'm excited to see this kind of stuff. Okay, moving forward. Like I said earlier, it's hard to talk about DLT or blockchain or use cases without touching on the Facebook Libra project. And recently, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg appeared in front of the Financial Services Committee. This was over 6 hours long. I did watch the whole thing. If you got the time and the patience, hey, jump in there. But if you want me to save you 6 hours, it's basically 6 hours of regulators worldwide that are very concerned about the disruptive nature of technology and making sure that we don't paint ourselves into a corner. And I think rightfully so. Regulators worldwide are responsible for their constituents and protecting their citizens. And there's some concerns. And so if you're interested, we'll provide the link here if you got 6 hours. Moving on here. So Hashing Systems recently made a really big announcement with Composer, and I'm going to touch more on that in a moment. But first, I'm going to just quickly highlight that we have some FAQ, frequently asked questions, about Composer. What is Composer? Composer is a Chrome extension that lets websites craft transactions for Hedera Hashgraph. It acts as a bridge, for decentralized applications in your web browser. Is my crypto safe? Yes, of course it is. That's entirely the point. How much does it cost? Composer does not charge any fees for interacting with Hedera. There are fees accrued from interacting with the Hedera API and other dApps. Those fees paid in HBAR. You may also transfer other smart contract-based tokens. I forgot my passport. What can I do? This is a big one. I think I should be talking about this in every episode. Composer cannot recover your keys. They are protected even from us. We recommend you store your keys and passwords by writing them down. This is the reality that with DLT technology, the user is ultimately responsible for protecting your private keys, your passwords, all of your login information. It's always recommended to keep that information safe. You don't have to go far in online without reading some story or hearing about a situation where someone lost their keys and now they've lost some extremely valuable cryptocurrency or some kind of digital asset. So this is just 101 basic information, keeping your login information safe. Okay, had to touch on this. So we had Chainlink and CoinList Hackathon, building real-world smart contracts using off-chain resources. So we have partnered with Chainlink, and we're doing some incredible things with them. They have a hackathon going on right now. This actually started on October 14th. And they have over $60,000 in prizes. This join now button seems still to be active. So if you're a developer and you're willing and able, here you go, jump into the hackathon and participate. I'm going to scroll down here. We're excited to host our first virtual hackathon where participants can use our Oracle protocol and access a range of data providers to create novel use cases and practical smart contract applications that drive business innovation and social progress. Chainlink is doing some really incredible things. If you're not currently familiar with them, it's all about using an Oracle service so you can take real world data onto the smart contract. I saw a stat somewhere that 80% of smart contracts out there are based off of real world data. So clearly there is a massive need there to bring that real world data in a secure way through an Oracle to so that you're dealing with accurate information. So definitely check this out. They have all the prizes outlined down here. Here are the judges. This is Johan Eid. Johan Eid actually participated in our open access event. If you didn't watch that, it's on our YouTube channel. He actually joined in and helped us welcome this momentous event of open access. And we're very excited to work with Chainlink. So yeah, so I wanted to highlight this link for everybody. I'm sure we got some developers out there that would like to participate. And then we have an article here about 4 Techstarts farm-to-fork companies announced they're moving to Minnesota. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this for everybody is because right here, Vancouver, Canada-based Certify is building an enterprise solution for their collection of certification and regulation data in the food supply chain. It will bring its headquarters to St. Paul. This is a very cool use case. Nat, their co-founder and CEO, actually participated in Hedera 18 and was up on stage and participated in a panel discussion. They have a very interesting use case. I had the chance to hang out a little bit with Nat, and he showed me how it worked, where he had the application installed on his phone. You scan the barcode that would be on the item of food or the steak, and then instantly you would pop up the entire history of where that food came from, how it was packaged, how the animal was cared for, what the animal was eating. I think in this day and age, there's been a massive shift from consumers to have much more transparency into what they are eating, and rightfully so. Everybody has the right to know what they're eating to take care of their health, and Certify is doing some really cool stuff. So we have a bunch, 1, 2, 3, 4 dApps here that seem to be relocating or establishing offices in Minnesota. My understanding is that Minnesota is going to be a hub for this farm-to-fork startups developing digital products for the food and agricultural markets. The companies in this year's accelerator were working on problems such as food waste and supply chain management, as well as communication and data collection with animals. Very cool subject. Highly recommend you check out Octify. I pulled up their website, so you can find them at octify.com. And very cool use case. I'm very excited to see where these guys are headed in the coming years. Actually, I should go back to that article. They are this accelerator here, St. Paul-based accelerator is backed by two local industry giants, Ecolab and Cargill. So yeah, there are some very, very big names associated with this. So yeah, wanted to highlight that for everybody. And that's their website. So again, I'll include all these links for everybody. And we have a YouTube video here from Cryptocurrency News, very popular YouTube channel in cryptocurrency news. So highly recommend you check out this video where he highlights Hedera Hashgraph. And we have another YouTube video. Hedera Hashgraph Series Blockchain Contender. This is by Coin Bureau. And I was really impressed by this video here because you could tell they put a lot of, they put a lot of time into describing what Hedera Hashgraph is. We got some timestamps down here. Intro, technology stack, use cases, consensus mechanism, blockchain versus Hashgraph, HBAR token, ICO, and economics. Just quick segue, we never had an ICO and nor will we. Team members, HBAR trading, wallets, and conclusion. They cover a lot of information in 15 minutes here. So yeah, check out this YouTube video. They did a really great job. You can tell they did a lot of work. And then wanted to wrap things up here with our social sizzler. I mentioned that Hashing Systems made this big announcement, Hashname Service, a natively built domain name registry that will set the standard for identification on Hedera. And this is their Medium article right here. And we can wrap things up with Hashname Service. So how do I get started? You got to check out this Medium article. It really breaks everything down here. This is super exciting. What do you need to get started? How do you get started? How to claim? And this screenshot right here, this makes me laugh. He chose Christian.hh because I'm sorry, if your name is Christian and you're watching this live stream, I believe my chief marketing officer, Christian Hasker, has already snapped up Christian.hh. So it is no longer available. So I apologize if your name is Christian. Hopefully you'll have another domain that you'll be able to snap up. And this is what the Google Chrome plugin looks like. It'll look like that when you have that installed. And then I'm going to scroll down here and show you. So here, what is Hashname Service? Okay, so if you're brand new to all of this, I'll quickly read this out to you. Hashname Service is a top-level domain naming system for Hedera Hashgraph users and developers. HNS is a decentralized blockchain domain registry equivalent of the widely used domain naming system, DNS. HNS is a native name registry for Hedera Hashgraph users and developers. It is aimed at creating short, recognizable names such as Philip.hh, which is obviously way easier to remember, for identification on the Hedera network. HNS is also aimed at eliminating the need to use complicated blockchain addresses by short linking them to something you can easily remember. What differentiates HNS from other domain registries is that it's built within the Hedera network, inheriting the platform's security. So if you are a developer, I think you're probably going to find this very interesting. You're going to take a closer look at this. Do we have some questions? Is that what I was seeing here?
Well, we do have a very interesting question. I should say interesting timing on a question.
Oh,
so there was one related to, it was, I think, from, let me see who asked this question. Let me go back to it. Future Oils. And basically it was about Google and the quantum computing. And, you know, we've got a podcast coming out this week. I haven't listened to the podcast yet, so I don't know exactly what was addressed, but it'll be cool to hold on for that podcast where I think they're going to be talking about a lot of the quantum computing and some of the future of that. So should be pretty interesting. But I don't have the answer to that. But the podcast should be coming out this week.
Agreed. Yeah, that's very exciting. I also haven't listened to the podcast yet. But I can imagine that it's going to be very interesting for all of us because, yeah, Google has announced that big news recently about their quantum computer. And I think a lot of people are interested in how that's going to affect crypto in the DLT space. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like quantum computing affects everyone. I mean, due to the nature of the technology in terms of the encryption. So it seems something that isn't just, I guess, isolated to Hedera, but like everyone who uses certain security protocols. So I think it must be very interesting what quantum computing can do and how it can solve. I don't know, if your private key can be solved, then I guess everyone will be in trouble. Yeah. So yeah.
We do have an FAQ, and I was going to include a quick reminder at the end for everybody, but we do have an FAQ that addresses quantum computing, but I think this podcast is going to actually provide a lot of valuable for people, and I'm looking forward to us getting that out to everybody as well. Yeah, good stuff. Were there some other questions there, Sharon, or I saw something pop up on my side, but it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I think those are that was the most important that we really haven't answered, but I think the rest, yeah, we're pretty good.
Right on. Okay, so I'll share my screen again here. And so the moment that many of us look forward to, our community hero of the week, I would like to congratulate and single out Jesse Whiteside, who has been a previous guest.
Jesse!
Yeah. Hey, Jesse, who's been a previous guest of ours on Forkless Cafe. And Jesse, I've noticed you just really ramp up your activity in Telegram and just supporting the community and answering questions. I believe you're working on your own DApp. I don't have any more clarity on what you're working on there, but we'd love to learn more about your project. Excuse me, we might even have to have you back on Forkless Cafe so you can educate us all on your DApp. But this is just simply our opportunity for those of you who are brand new to us that we can single out a single community member who goes above and beyond and offer just a small recognition from us to you. So Jesse, please reach out to me, or I can shoot you a message after this, and we'll get you a discount to the Hedera online store, and hopefully we'll be able to chat with you soon about your DApp. So very excited. And then, like I mentioned just earlier on, that we have an FAQ that you can find at help.hedera.com. I think this is a very underutilized resource, in my humble opinion, because probably not enough people know about it. So I wanted to single it out here today on Forkless Cafe. If you have any questions about the technology, the governance model, almost any subject about Hedera Hashgraph, we've probably included it in the FAQ. Head over there, type it in the search bar, and you're probably going to find your answer much quicker. But if you don't, for some reason, please jump into any of the social media channels that we participate in. We're in all the major social media channels, and then that'll flag me to make sure I can add another question to the FAQ and make it much more valuable to everybody. But that's really important to have a very robust FAQ for everybody. So yeah, so wanted to highlight that for everybody. And other than that, I really want to thank everybody for watching the live stream. Make sure you smash that like button if you enjoy these weekly live streams. We enjoy bringing the content for everybody and highlighting some of the trends that people are talking about and people care about. Make sure you jump in the live chat there and leave a comment for us, ask a question. Please recommend some community members you'd like to see on future episodes. And on that note, John, thank you so much for joining us at such a late hour in Singapore. We want to encourage community involvement, and you're an important part of the community. I've seen, like I said at the beginning of all of this, you are a staple in the Telegram chat. You have helped. I wouldn't even be able to guess how many people you've helped over the last couple of years, but you were in the chat before I was, and I can only imagine how many more people you're going to be helping with your meetups there in Singapore. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh yeah, really, thank you for having me here as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, John. Right. Appreciate it.
And before I guess we say goodbye to everybody, I want to remind everyone that we are going back to Monday next week, which is our normal scheduled time. And unless something's changed, we're probably going to end up switching again to Tuesday the following week, just to observe and recognize Remembrance Day, Veterans Day. But next week, you'll be able to see us at our normally scheduled time on Monday, as a quick reminder for everybody, if you made it all the way to the end. Right on. Thank you, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Andrew. Bye-bye.